All right.
All right, everyone. Thanks for coming in. We're here with Gabrielle Piccione, SG alum, and 7-time NBA champ Robert Horry, Robert Big Shot Bob, Mr. Clutch. We're here. We're excited. So Gabby's going to run through this interview for us. We're going to open up to Q&A. Let's get it going.
Let's do this. So as you said, I'm Gabby Piccione. I played for SG Elite my 8th grade through 12th grade, and it was the best years of my life. They really shaped me into the player I was all through high school as well as college, mentally, physically, my mindset going into jobs and whatnot. And so I absolutely adore everyone at San Gabriel, and I'm thrilled to be with all of you. So you ready to get into this?
Yes, I'm ready. Can I say something first before we start?
Yeah, let's do it.
Please excuse my coronavirus shutdown appearance. I'm letting the beard grow out. A friend of mine now, we have a contest going to see who beard is going to look the best after corona. So excuse the appearance.
I think you look great. All right, let's start with your pregame routine. So you've played in thousands, hundreds of games. Did you have a routine? Did you start with a routine younger and it change and evolve, or?
Well, it's good. It's a good question. I didn't have a routine in high school. You just ate whatever you could and you moved on. But in college, we will always have a pregame meal 4 hours before the game. And one time it was always spaghetti, chicken fingers. And one time I was eating my chicken fingers and I was putting honey on my chicken fingers and it fell into my spaghetti. And so I was like, oh, well, I'm gonna eat it. And then it says, oh, this tastes really good. And then when I had 30 points in that game, so that kind of became my routine. I always have to have some type of pasta, and I always have to put honey on it. I did that from college, all the way up to my last year in the NBA. That was just my routine. I had to have some type of honey on my food, and it was my good luck charm.
I think if that was my routine in high school playing volleyball, I'd be just spread out on the court, like not able to move.
No, it's 4 hours. You get, you let it settle in your stomach. You get those carbs ready. You get ready to roll. You get that honey for the energy. And there were other routines that I did that I would always go out like an hour and a half before a game and shoot and get warmed up, and then go back in and do like legs, not heavy legs, and then core work to get my abs, ready for. A lot of twisting and a lot of, movement in the trunk area.
It worked for you.
Sometimes.
Well, your nickname is Big Shot Rob for all your clutch shots. So I just want to know your mindset going into games when those opportunities come and you're ready to take those shots. What's going through your head?
It always started before the game. It actually started the night before a game. I learned back in high school, after I missed a free throw to win a game in high school, I had a guy that comes and says, you need to do visualization. You need to imagine your shots going in. You need to imagine the game. You need to literally play a game in your mind. So I'll literally do visualization right before the game. I would think about the people I had to guard. I would think about the plays we ran, what we were successful at, what we weren't successful at. And I try to get my mind right even before I even stepped on the floor. And then by the time you get on the floor, you're mentally ready, because in basketball and any sport, the physical part is the easy part, but the mental part is the hard part where you have to be up for every game, because there's going to be games where you're tired. There's going to be games where you're mad at your girlfriend, your boyfriend, your wife, and you're just going to be not mentally, but you got to get that focus. You got to find that quote unquote eye of the tiger, and you got to find that inner passion to push past all those things and get that focus back. For me, that was a part of it. That was a release. You do that visualization. Now you're ready for that game. And then when you see, that opponent step on the floor, you like, oh, I already know your weaknesses. I already know your strengths, and I'm ready to roll.
Yeah, I think that was a tough thing for me in high school, especially going through these tournaments where you're there for hours on end and you get to this last championship game and you're mentally exhausted. Yeah. So I think finding the will to fight through that.
I know with everybody watching, The Last Dance, they see Michael Jordan say all these things to get him mentally. I think a lot of athletes come up with some scheme, or I remember watching even the program where the guy was like, "Oh, you're the guy that said something about my mama. I'm coming to get you." And the guy was like, "What? I don't even know who your mama is." So you make all these things up in your mind to push yourself to the edge, push yourself above the the mountaintop and the upper echelon, keep moving.
I agree. You played on 3 huge championship teams, the Rockets, the Lakers, and the Spurs. Could you compare any similarities, differences between the teams that you either liked, disliked, or?
You know, the crazy thing about all the teams I played for, the similarities were we had a dominant big man. You know, Hakeem Olajuwon, probably one of the best big men I ever played with. Then Shaquille O'Neal, and then Tim Duncan. And all those guys really emphasize defense, because you've heard the saying before, defense wins championships. And I know in this day and age, it's more like who can get up the most threes. But back then, it was all about the defense. And so we did a lot of that. And we had Dream to block shots, Shaq block shots, you know, Tim, all intimidators. And we wanted to play defense. We knew how to play defense. And we were all a close-knit family, and we believed in each other. And when you believe in each other as a team, there are no insecurities, because there's sometimes I've been on the court, people where you don't believe in that next guy. You look at him, you're like, I don't want to pass the ball, and you go the other way. But you need that flow. You need that flow in a game where it won't be any mistakes, and keep the defense on their heels.
Yeah, is there a coach that allowed that camaraderie between teams that you felt was a little bit more from this team than the other, or?
It was weird because every coach was different. Rudy T, who was my coach with the Rockets, was a true players coach. And what I mean by that, he would literally come in the huddles and like, okay, guys, what do you hear on the floor? What are they saying? What's the comfortable thing? What do y'all want to do? And most coaches nowadays, oh, we're going to run this, this, and this. They don't care what the players say. And so Rudy will say, okay, you know, because this is our team. It's not my team. It's our team. What is your opinion on what you want to do on the floor? And then, you know, when I got to the Lakers, Phil was all about the zen and triangle offense, which is weird because people say, oh, the triangle offense was so difficult. I'm like, we ran that in Houston. We just called everything different. It's about playing basketball, about, you know, understanding what you can do on the court to make your team successful. And then when I got to the Spurs, it was just like a machine. I mean, they were so mechanical at times that I'd be like, okay, can I cut back door here? And you cut back during the game. I'm like, no, what are you doing? I'm like, I was open. I was playing basketball. So you really have to become that mechanical aspect of it. And that's what made them so good, because they was like a technical team, and they would just pick you to death on doing this, doing that to get what they needed. So each team had great defensive minded coaches. But in the end, also, at that time, I had MVPs. Dream was the MVP, Shaq was the MVP, and Tim Duncan was the MVP. So I was very fortunate to play with MVP type caliber players.
Yeah.
Actually, I have a question I want to add. Between all the teams you've been on, 7 championship teams, what team had the best chemistry, and what team do you think had the best skill?
You know, the best skill by far was the Lakers. Back in 2001, we only lost 1 game in the playoffs, and our chemistry was great. We were rolling as a team, and you know, we didn't have the best record in basketball like we normally do, but it was a team that was very talented, very skilled, and we had a lot of confidence in ourselves. You know, a lot of people call us cocky, but that can get confused a lot of times with being confident. And I think that team was by far the best because we had a great bench. You know, even I said it because I was coming off bench. me and Derek Fisher and B. Shaw, and we just had, you know, Shaq and Kobe. You know, it was a great duo, and they knew they needed us, and they counted on us to do a lot of things for the team. And even though, you know, you go back to the talented teams with the Rockets and the Spurs, they were talented, but I just think, you know, due to the fact that he had the dynamic duo, Kobe and Shaq. I know everybody said, what about the 3 guys in San Antonio, Manu, you know, and Tim and Tony, and then in Houston we had Dream and Clyde. It was just something special about those 2 compared to everybody else.
Awesome. And going back to the coach's question, you played for you ask anybody, those 3 coaches are like the best of all time. You know, right? You put, you know, what's the difference between Phil? What's the difference between Greg? Like, I know you talked about Rudy being a player's coach, but how would you compare Phil and Greg Popovich?
You know, it's weird. Great coaches are pretty much the same. You know, they emphasize defense. They have a good rapport with their players. They know when to give their players time off. They know when to get on their players' cases and make them work harder. And I think with those 2 guys, they just know how to get the best out of you. You know, Phil was the type of guy, he would challenge you mentally. You know, he would say little things to make you mad, and then Pop on the other side will just yell at you like, you know, that's the drill sergeant he would yell at you and then be like, okay, you yelling at me, I'm gonna give you a reason not to yell at me. I'm gonna go out and do what you said I did wrong to the best of my ability. So it's weird because every person has their different coaching styles, and that's why when they say, okay, this coaching style can work, I think you need to get a feel for your team to see what type of players they are that you have, knowing that there's certain guys you can yell at, there's certain guys you need to pat on the back, there's certain guys you need to just leave alone. You know, and that's just how it is. You just got to, that's the sign of great coaches. And I think those two guys knew who they could yell at, who they could pat on the back, and who they could, like, you know, cuddle a little bit and make them feel like, you know, what they need to do to make themselves better and good for the game.
And then going off of that, speaking of the differences between coaches, how did you adjust to each coach? Because I feel like in high school you get thrown with club coaches, with high school coaches, with different assistant coaches, and you have to adjust to each one because they're not all the same and they don't have the same ideas or what they think is the best option for you at the end of the day. Or how do you adjust to them?
See, now you're gonna make me show my age because we didn't have club coaches when I was coming up. We didn't have AAU and all that. But the thing is, I think from my even from my elementary coaches to my high school, middle school coaches, college coaches, they all emphasize learning the game, being smart on the court, understanding that it's not all about you, it's about we. And I was very fortunate to play with all these types of guys, play for all these type of coaches that you're able to fit in. And when I was with the Rockets, they said, we need you to score points. When we got with the Lakers, we need you to shoot threes. We got to the Spurs, we need you to just fill in where you can get in. And when you're a type of player that has the knowledge of the game and a feel for the team, and the coaches can come to you and say, hey, I need you to do this, this, and this, you have to be man enough or woman enough or player enough to say, okay, I'm going to step in and do what this role is to make the team better, because at the end of the day, it's all about winning that championship. And my favorite saying is, I don't make the product, I make the product better. So that's how I always looked at myself. I brought what the team needed, regardless if it was scoring, rebounding, defense, or, you know, pushing Steve Nash down.
Oh, no longer a sore subject. Speaking of, do you have a favorite player?
Favorite player is, every team presents a different favorite player. When I was with Houston Rockets, Sam Cassell and I were huge friends. We're still friends to this day. We hung out. When I got to the Lakers, it was Derek Fisher, Devin Joyce, Ty Lue. We all hung out together. And then when I got to the Spurs, it was Bruce Bowen. So yeah, you kind of gravitate towards the people who are sort of similar. Sorry, but they're similar to what you like to do. You know, when I was with the Rockets, Sam and I lived right next to each other, so we used to drive to practice together. You know, go to eat together. And then when I got with the Lakers, it was just, guys who played the same type of video games together. And when I got to Spurs, it was more so with Bruce, we were always talking basketball. The what we're going to do after basketball. What are we going to coach? We were talking about our kids, what we're going to do for our kids. So it was, you kind of gravitate towards people who have the similarities that you have.
Yeah, I agree. Well, even playing volleyball, I feel like we all came in from different families, different cultures, different things we liked, disliked, and I think that's what made us really a community. And we learned about each other and we played well together because we used those similarities and differences. But that was volleyball.
We miss it.
We do. I miss it. What is your favorite championship run and what made it so special?
I have two favorite championship runs. This is a question I get asked a lot, and I always tell the people it's too hard to just pick just one because there were different moments in my life, and some people would say, oh, it had to be 2005 where you went off in game 5 against the Detroit Pistons and you made all the 3. No, it wasn't even that game, that championship series. Even though I love those championships, it was my 95 championship with the Rockets because we were a 6th seed. And we didn't have home court advantage. We were defending champions. Nobody talked about us. And we were able to overcome a lot of injuries. That was probably my worst year as a player. I missed 25 games due to injury. I was just coming off a really good season, and it took us a long time to get into the groove. We made a big trade. We got rid of a really good friend of mine, Otis Thorpe, and brought in Clyde Drexler. And next thing you know, we were 6th seed. We were bad, and then we made the trade, and it took some time to gel. And then we beat all these great teams, Karl Malone, Charles Barkley, David Robinson, and then we beat Shaq and Penny in the finals. We swept them, one of the first times a team has ever been swept in the finals. And then I'm come on to the Lakers, and then it has to be in 2001 where we beat everybody and lost our first game to Philly, and we were mad. I mean, we were mad because we wanted to do something no team has ever done, is sweep everybody in the playoffs, and to lose game 1 against Philly in overtime. We didn't talk about it, was the funny part, but we were so mad we lost that game because we knew we had missed out on history.
Oh, I hate that feeling. And I know that feeling, even coming from high school or even club.
Yeah, you always want to do something nobody has ever done, and I think if we would have done that record would never been touched again, because I don't think people are going to lose in the playoffs now. Teams are too evenly matched.
Yeah. Well, going off of that, you play about 82 games in a regular season, not including playoffs. Mm-hmm. How do you mentally prepare and physically prepare? Because that's a lot of wear and tear on your body, and by the time you hit playoffs, how do you prepare for that?
You have to find ways to relax. During the regular season, you just try to make sure you lift weights, eat properly, do all the things that to maintain your body. You have to lift weights. You don't lift weights heavy. You lift weights to maintain your strength, and you try to stay positive because in the back of your mind, it's 82 games. You're going to have some ups, you're going to have some downs, sometimes more ups than downs and vice versa, but you have to say, hey, it comes with the game. And you rely on your teammates. The thing is, you have to be honest with yourself. A lot of guys are out there playing when they're tired and you're not giving 100%. I remember I was good for doing this. Hey, coach, I'm tired. Come get me. Because when you're tired, that's fatigue sets in. That's the best way to get injured. And so I was always about doing that. But when the playoffs rolled around, I went to a whole nother level. I had my significant other at the time to delegate tickets. Don't call me for tickets. Don't do anything for tickets because I'm not handling that. I'm all about going to practice, eating properly, resting. I only think I went out to restaurants because I had the fear of going out to a restaurant and maybe getting food poisoning or something like that. So you really, curtail what you would do and got more rest. It went from, massages to more ice baths, more things to get your body, maintain your body, and always, watching film and staying mentally ready and prepared that way.
So it's almost like your whole life is basketball. Even like you don't even notice it going out to restaurants. I feel like I wouldn't even think of that. But
in the playoffs, and you really, for me, I really shut things down, and I just went from a whole new person where I remember we would be even on the road, we'd be like, you want to go to dinner? Nope. I'm going to get a hotel room or go next door to a restaurant that's close, or go somewhere close by, or call a friend up in that town and say, hey, let's go to dinner. And you just do these things to stay ready because there's so many things that can happen. You think about what happened to Kobe. In the room, he got food poisoning when we were up in Sacramento. And so, you have to be very careful to think, because that's why it's called a playoffs. You play, then you're off, then you play, then you're off. And you don't want to have that one time when you're off and then you got to play the next day. There's something wrong with you physically.
So, Chef, did you have PB&Js just in sandwiches just to pull out so you knew for sure you're good?
You just made sure, you always get, the thing about it, you make sure you don't get any bad food. You have an alias on the road, Yeah. My alias on the road was Mike Lowry.
And you knew?
Yeah, Mike Lowry is in the house.
One of my last questions is that you played against Michael, Kobe, and LeBron. Looking back now, they're top NBA players. Can you reflect on that a little bit?
I remember I was so excited to play against Michael Jordan when I first got to the NBA. I knew I wasn't going to have to guard him. But I was ready to get Scottie Pippen, who was like on my wall in my room. Yeah. I had Scottie and Magic on my wall, so I was excited about that. And to go up against the best player ever and have a chance to guard him. I have a picture of him blowing by me. And you don't really keep pictures of that, but it's just MJ.
But you have to.
I let that slide. And I have and and I also have a picture of me dunking, and he's watching me. So, yeah, MJ was just a phenomenal player. He is the best by far. And then to watch Kobe go from a boy to a man. You know, I was with him his rookie year. You know, him sitting there, you know, trying to figure things out and always going 100 miles an hour in practice, and telling him this is, you know, it's a long season.
Yeah.
You got to know when to put in the work and when to try to curtail it back. And so that was one of the things that it was fun watching him grow as a player, and to sit here and say, you know, play with one of the 5 greatest players ever is a blessing. And then to, you know, go up against LeBron and be on that team that sweeps him in the finals is, you know, when he was with Cleveland out with the Spurs to sweep them in 2007 was to see his maturation as a player, you know, go from a guy that just wanted to get to the hole and dunk to now a guy who can shoot threes, you can pull up, you know, get everybody involved. And it's so funny how people always get mad at him for getting people involved. And I hope now that everybody's watching The Last Dance, they're seeing that MJ counted on Paxson, Steve Kerr, BJ Armstrong, and so all these people can get off of LeBron, you know, and talking bad about him, saying, oh, he's not a killer. He believes and trusts in his teammate, and that's the guy I would have loved to play with.
Yeah, and that's huge, especially for this generation coming up. I know my little brother absolutely adores LeBron, and
he thinks he's the greatest of all time.
He really does. And so my last question would be, do you have any advice to these young men and women playing at these competitive levels, so young, wanting to either take a step to the collegiate level or so on?
I think my biggest piece of advice is to take care of your bodies and understand that, you know, parents can try to push you, but you have to be able to communicate with your parents. When you're hurt, tell them, this is why I'm hurt. I'm not, you know, taking time off because I'm being lazy. It's because I'm hurt. I think a lot of parents these days push our kids too hard, and we want them to be successful in every aspect of it. So I think there needs to be an open line of communication with parents and children. And don't be afraid as a parent to listen to the children. And children, don't be afraid to say, mom, dad, auntie, or somebody, I know I'm hurting a little bit, let me get a day's rest. But when you do get back out there, you know, everybody says, you know, practice perfect. And I think perfect practice makes perfect. You know, everybody says, you know, because when you go out there, go hard. I'm a big believer in, I'm gonna go hard for an hour and a half, 2 hours in practice. You don't have to go for 3 hours to do what you need to do. As long as you put in that time and that hard work and effort in those first 3 hours and you get what you want to accomplish that day, I think that's the best part about it. So, but I think overall, like I said, it has to be this day and age, because we push our kids so hard and they're mentally drained by all the schoolwork and friends and social media stuff. Listen to your kids, and parents, you know, be open-minded. You know, our kids are very smart, and our kids, you know, I don't think for the most part will lie to us about their bodies.
No, we'll tell you. And kids, remember, say thank you.
Yes, thank you. And because also kids, your parents go through a lot. You know, they run from work to take you to practice, then run home to cook dinner, and run back to get you practice. So it's a give and take. And then the parents are out there trying to do their best to support you, and you got to support your parents also.
Yeah, that's all my questions.
That's it?
Yeah, but Hugo might have to.
Hugo, you got some questions for me, big dog?
Yeah, we got a couple, and then we're going to open up to Q&A. So if you guys have anything, go ahead, type it in, and we're going to start calling on you guys one by one and unmuting you so you can ask your question. My question, Robert, is how did you guys handle player conflict or teammate conflict in the locker room or on the practice squad?
You know, it's weird. We didn't have that much conflict, but when you win it, everybody's happy. I think the only time we ever had some conflict were in practices. You know, you get those scrimmages in practice and things like that because, you know, football is a collision sport. Basketball is a contact sport, so you're going to have those moments. But I think a lot of times you have teammates that know that's going to happen, so they're there to support everybody and tell them things are going to happen. And you have to be mature about it and say, hey, okay, we did have a little tiff, a little tat. Okay, let's push it aside and get over it, you know. And I tell people all the time, there's been a lot of people I play with I don't like, but I'm gonna respect them on the court because if I respect them, they're gonna respect me, and that's the best, you know, best for the team.
And then Phil Jackson had a phrase I think it was specifically to you. He had fun. Is there any insight on that?
You know, it's weird that that phrase actually, Phil Jackson used to give us a test, and it was a test on the triangle, and everybody had to fill out these tests. It was about 20 questions, and he would call everybody in and ask them about, you know, the questions. It was literally a test to say, if I tell you to run blind pig, tell me what a blind pig is. Okay, that's a back door where the big comes from the opposite side to the middle of the basketball court. You catch it and you dump it down. All these type of things. So he said, okay, I need 3 sentences to describe you as a player. And so I didn't say, you know, I used to like to have fun, so I'm gonna mess with him. So in my 3 sentences, the first sentence was he, the second sentence was had, and the last sentence was fun. So I said, he had fun. I said, that's what it's all about. I said, I started playing this game for fun, and it turned into a business, and I'm still going to have fun about it because that's the best thing about basketball. You have to enjoy the moment. You have to have fun. And he just looked at me and said, he had fun? I'm like, yeah, that's how I want you to remember me. He had fun.
Awesome story. We would have never known that, but thanks for sharing. All right, first Q&A question. We're going to go with Andrea.
Hi, Andrea.
Unmute it. Hi, how are you doing?
I'm great. And yourself?
Good, thanks. We were wondering, which team did you win the most championships on, and what do you think contributed to those championship wins?
I won two in San Antonio, and I won 3 with the Los Angeles Lakers. I think that is just a culmination of a lot of things. We have, of course, Shaq was the #1 part of it, and then Kobe. And I think the fact that we just had a great coach, a great team, a great rapport, and we had a bunch of guys that understood their roles. If you go back and look at the teams, Rick understood what he needed to do. Ron Harper understood what he needed to do. And of course, I definitely understood what I needed to do coming off the bench, because people were always like, well, you didn't start. I said, it doesn't matter. I says, in the fourth quarter, if you look on the floor, am I on the court? Like, yeah, that's the most important thing. You know, you have to have your big dogs in at the end of the game. So I think as a whole, the teams were just one-minded. We worked hard in practice because we know if you work hard in practice, it'll carry over to the games. We always viewed our practice as harder than the games. And if we practice hard in the game, we get the game, that was the easy part. Not all the time, but some of the time, that was the easy part.
Well, next question is going to be from Coach Alex, but while Trent finds him, Gabby, question for you. What did you learn from playing club volleyball?
What did I learn? I learned a lot of discipline. I learned to work with a variety of personalities, and I just learned schedule. I feel like club definitely put me on a schedule. It allowed me to travel places, meet people that I wouldn't have, and it just taught me discipline. Like I said at the beginning of this, that discipline from coaches, from my teammates, I use that in applying to jobs, getting into college, going up and asking my teacher in lectures and college questions. And I loved it. It brought me joy, it brought me happiness, and like I said, I continued that into college, and I will continue that later in life. Like I said, I want to help out at San Gabriel when I can, or my high school, and I don't know, volleyball will always be a part of me.
Awesome. All right, Coach Alex.
Hey, Rob, big Laker fan. Got a couple silly, quick questions, and then got a good one that'll hopefully help the kids out. Number 1, which ring of the 7 do you wear the most?
Actually, the first one. The first one that I wear the most because it's not as big as the other ones, so it's manageable to wear, and it doesn't have many diamonds in it. So if I hit it on some, it's not the cheapest ring, but it's the second cheapest ring because it was like early '94 ring, '95. So it's just you know, I know you've seen championship rings. They can get kind of big. So at least this was not one of those ones where you scared someone's going to be like you hit somebody with it or you lose it. So yeah.
Oh, that's funny. Number 2, have you ever given MJ some friendly ribbon for having more rings than that guy?
I did once. You know, it was weird. I think we were at the All-Star game in LA, and he walked in front of us, And he was like, I says, man, be glad sure I can get on that Jordan list. You think a person with 7 championships, one more than you could get on that list. He's like, what's up, Rob? I said, I'm just saying, man, can I get on that Jordan list where I can get some gear or something, man? Don't you want a 7-time champion wearing your gear?
Oh, man. That's good stuff.
He's a great guy, man. I had a chance to hang out in one time in Houston and went to dinner. He loves his cigars, and he's a good guy to know.
Awesome. Last silly question. Who's the bigger dork, Mark Madsen or Tim Duncan?
I just talked to Mark a couple of days ago. Mark is a different type of dork than Tim. Tim is video game card dork, and Mad Dog is just a all-around dork, from his dancing, and everybody knows his dancing. And both of those are great teammates. I will give this to Mark. There are a lot of guys that come to practice that don't go 100%. Mark went 100% every day in practice, sometimes too much. We had to, and shoot-arounds, it's called a walkthrough. And we had to tell him, dude, it's a walkthrough, calm down. I mean, he's going for rebounds and doing crazy stuff, but I would give the bigger dork prize to Mark Madsen, Mad Dog.
Awesome. All right, and serious question to help the kids out. Obviously, going from college to the NBA, a little bit different level of skill. You were talking about finding your place on the teams. When you do realize that you're a role player and you're going to come off the bench, how do you kind of keep yourself warm, both mentally and physically, while I don't get to jump right in right after the warm up?
It was weird because I remember my son would always ask me, what are you doing on the sideline? I said, I'm jumping around, I'm stretching, I'm doing all types of movement to keep my body limber and keep me warm, hot packs. I will literally some timeouts, I will run back to the bathroom, even though I had to go to the bathroom, just run to the bathroom, run back. You find all these little things to try to keep your body ready. And my routine might not work for you, or your routine might not. You have to figure it out, because when you go in there as a sub, you have to be ready to go at that moment. And people don't understand, starters have it easy. Subs have it the worst, because we have to be on point as soon as we come into the game, because if you come out on the point and you mess up, you're going to hear that, and you're going to be coming out, because it's the next man up. And so it's a lot of, that's where the mental focus comes. You got to figure out what's best for your body and what you need to do to stay ready. Stay ready, you don't have to get ready, right?
There you go. Thanks, Rob.
Very fun questions, Coach. We're going to go to David.
Yeah, hey, Robert. Thanks for making all those big shots, especially with those Lakers. So my question for you would be, did Vlade still consider your shot lucky?
I've had the pleasure to get to know Vlade as I retired. We did a couple of NBA functions together. We went to, I think it was the Philippines, and we were playing in a little charity game with us. So he and I were talking about it. He said, I was just trying to get you off your game by saying it was a lucky shot. I said, yeah, I said, dude, you got to realize, man, you can't get me off my game. I said, I learned from years of basketball, from getting elbowed as a little kid, from all these other things to try to throw me off. You got to stay mentally focused. Once you locked in, dialed in, it's a wrap. But Vlade is a great guy, great guy.
All right, we're going to go to Coach B.
Hey, Robert. Just wanted to ask really quick, what, as you played for 3 different teams, I know you kind of talked about it earlier, what was a common link between all the championship teams, and what was something that was different that stood out to you? And was that a positive? Was it a negative?
It really wasn't any differences, to be honest with you, because if you got a championship caliber team, what's at stake. I remember when I went to Phoenix for that couple of months and we were losing, guys didn't care, guys were going out. They had a loser's mentality and they didn't practice hard. I'm not going to call their names. I remember one guy came in and said, oh, I got a hangnail, I can't practice today because my finger's swollen. We're like, you got a what? And so, but that's the thing about guys when you're on championship teams. You practice, if you're not injured too bad, and it's not going to hurt you. You practice, you come out, you talk about the game, you like each other, and then if you have a problem with somebody, you work it out. And at the end of the day, you say, okay, we're going to lock in defensively. We're not going to worry about me. We're going to worry about we. And when you're playing basketball, there's a lot of times that you don't understand, guys don't understand how to play as a team. And they think, okay, if I do this by scoring 30 points, we should win. No, it's more than just scoring points. You got to lock down that guy on the other end. You got to funnel a guy to where we want you to funnel so we can trap him to cause some havoc out there. So every team that I played on had that frame of mind that we're going to cause havoc defensively, and we're going to play together. We're going to, not have one person try to win the game. So that's the common thread when you look at everything. You got to have people who are willing to sacrifice. Even though you look at guys like Shaq, Kobe, Dream, Tim, that they made sacrifices. Might not be in that you can see physically, like in a stat sheet, but they made sacrifices where they gave up their bodies and they dove on the floor. They did little things like that to keep the ball alive. So you gotta make sacrifices as a whole, no matter if you're the big dog or you're the little dog on the team.
All right, if some of you guys are too nervous to maybe ask the question unmuted, go ahead, type it out, and I'll read it for you. Just make a note on there. I think that might be the case.
I see a lot of Laker jerseys, so I'm happy that I'm on this call with the Lakers representing. Is that a Karl Malone jersey right there?
I know you got. Oh, it's a Diva Vladi. Robert, what was your involvement in the songs about you? Right, Robert Horry saved the day. Did you know about that before, or you're like?
Don't tell me that she gonna start playing the song and it's gonna be.
I haven't heard that
it
song.
stays in your head. I met that young lady. I think her name was Misty Lynn. But it's weird that she used to come to all my games, and even when I was a Laker, and she'd come to some of the San Antonio games, and she was the first person that sent it to me. I don't know who came up with this song, but she was the first person that sent it to me. So when you hear songs like that, it's funny. I think the weirdest time was my aunt had passed away, and I was back in Alabama, and I was heading to the airport to come back to LA, and I rode up to a stoplight, and a guy was playing Kevin Gates, and he was Robert Horry, and he looked over and saw me, he was like, and then the light turned green. I drove off, and you could see that he was like, "Was that Robert Horry?" And it's just funny how I hear my name in a lot of these songs, and I got a chance to meet Travis Scott also, and he's a Houston boy, so he grew up a Robert Horry fan when he was a little kid because of the championships I won in Houston. And my wife loves Travis Scott, so she loves that song by Travis Scott, Antidote.
Gabby, you said you haven't heard that one yet?
No, I've heard the Travis Scott song, and the one.
I'll send it to you. Don't
No, you don't. But you send it to her.
I think you should sing it for those who don't know it.
It goes, Robert Horry saves the day.
Oh,
That's how it goes.
God, she's gonna be singing that all over the house the rest of the week.
All right, so we do have some anonymous questions. They started rolling in as soon as I said I'd read them out. This anonymous question says, what was it like working with the mailman, Karl Malone?
The crazy part about going up against Karl Malone, he was, I kind of think I know who sent that question in. Karl was a great professional. He was so good at using his body. If you go back and look at him, he didn't really jump high on the jump side. He didn't really jump a lot in his post, but he was so technical when it comes to spinning and using his length to get to the hole. I learned a lot from playing against him. I didn't have the pleasure of playing with him. But he was, he's in my top 10 list as one of, the greatest of all time. But he doesn't get enough credit because he didn't win a championship. So, but he's my top 10.
Yeah, we were rooting for him. He came to the right place to do it. But...
Like that answer, Diamond.
All righty. We're gonna go to Robert.
Hey, Robert. Man, I just love watching you back in the day in LA. Just wanted to ask, you got the moniker Big Shot Bob. So in the huddle, in the team huddle, did you ask for those last shots, or the audibles? What were or were they just kind of impromptu, kind of ad hoc plays?
Here's the funny thing about it. It's like when they design the play, it's always for the first person. And in my mind, I'm like, oh, this play is for me. If I'm the second slot, I know the play is for me, because coaches will like run the play, and you're going to stop the first option, right? So the second option, you hardly ever stop. And a lot of those times I was like, you're going to drive and kick. If you go back to the shot I made against Sacramento, Kobe was supposed to come off me. If you see the play, I kind of jumped out of the way because he started moving before I had a chance to set the screen. I didn't want to get an offensive foul call. And he was supposed to kick it back to me if he didn't have the lane. He had the lane, he just missed the shot. And so I was like, dang it, Chris, where were you supposed to go with him? So I'm still out here. And fortunately for us, the shot got tipped out and I was able to knock it down. But I know, and I always look at the play and I look at it. If I'm the second option, I'm like, yeah, this play is for me. You better come to me. And I think also the funny one was when we were I was in San Antonio and we were playing the Knicks. And I was having a good game, and Pop ran a play. And I was literally holding, wait, where am I? He says, you're not in here. I said, what? You mean I'm not in this play? I'm like, it's at the end of the game. He looked at me like, yeah, you're not in this play. I was like, are you serious? And it was funny. And everybody was like, can you believe that Big Shot Bob wasn't in on the play at the last of the game? And I was like, no, I couldn't believe it either. But we won. So it was all right. Yeah, it was all right. If we would have lost that game, boy, I would have gave it to him in the locker room.
All right, I have another anonymous question. By the way, good guess. Since you guessed Diamond, I'm going to tell you what she also messaged me. She said, oh, my God, he said my name. I just lost my mind. Only because you guessed. But here's another anonymous question, parent question. Any advice for parents raising student athletes? And are you involved as Kobe or more in the backseat with your own kids?
I actually was coaching my 14-year-old's AAU team, and I'm the type of guy. We took a break this season. Like we'll play in the summertime, and I don't like to interfere club ball. We're gonna call it club ball with their school, because I'm a big component of doing your homework and doing all this. Because if you play with your high school team or college, your team, and then all of a sudden now you got to do homework, and then you got to come to my practice. That's just too much. So I wanted them to do all that, and then we were going to start practicing on Saturdays and Sundays. Now that as soon as their season was over, but COVID has us in the house. But that's my involvement. I still, like to give them a little bit of advice and stay on them about working hard and understanding the game, not just playing the game, but understanding the game. And for me, I've always wanted to coach since I was a little kid. And so I will always help kids that were younger than me. I remember when I first got to college, I used to work with a couple of kids that had Down syndrome, and it's just me. I just like giving back and passing on the knowledge that I have to the youth of the day.
Again, I want to say thank you for doing this. This means a lot. We've had a lot of athletes come out. Thank you for joining that group. I know it means a lot to our kids. Next question, we're going to go to Payton.
Hi. Hi. Our question was, who's your favorite player to watch now in the NBA, like currently?
It's weird because at the end of the day, I still like watching LeBron play. You got all these guys like Westbrook. I like to see his speed up and down the court. I love to watch Kawhi tenacity on. I love to watch Paul George. But if you watch LeBron play, the fact that he is one of the elder statesmen in this game, but yet he can still compete at a high level and do the things that he's doing is amazing. I just like basketball. I really like watching, even though I think he travels half the time. I love watching James Harden play. But it's just I love the game of basketball. And there's just so many guys out there. You become fans of because they present or bring a different aspect to the game. Even guys who can't shoot, like I don't say his name, but I'm just saying the guy up in Philly who's an extremely great athlete but can't shoot a lick. But I love watching him play. But I just love watching basketball.
All right, I have another anonymous question. We talked about earlier how today is kind of a three-point shooting league. How do you think, one, I want to know how do you think the game's evolving? And then do you think guys like Dream and Shaq would have had the same effect that they did back when they played in today's game?
I think it's the physicality of the game is lessened. I know it's still physical, but not as physical when I played because there's no hand checking. They took that out in '96, and then they moved on for the charge circle. Then they moved on to other things, and it's not as physical. It's more of a flow, and it's a good thing because you don't want to get guys injured. And as far as those other guys being able to play, man, they were so good they could play at any era, especially Dream. And people don't realize Dream used to outshoot some of us in practice shooting threes, but we didn't need him to do that. We needed him on the block, drawing the defense to kick it out. Shaq shooting threes, that ain't gonna happen. But he was just so big and so dominant that I laugh at people like Draymond Green, who says, "Oh, we'd be able to stop Shaq." Like, dude, you're 6'6", Shaq's 7'2", 280. There's no way. You think you're strong, but it's a difference when you're going up against someone that can maneuver like Shaq. Shaq would have averaged like 50 on them, and it's been ridiculous. But he could have played in this day and age, and I could have played in this day and age. And
yeah, he always says that he should have been born a little later because he would have thrived.
Yeah.
But I think he did pretty good for his time on the court.
Although, do you still have the record for most 3 points in playoffs?
I think
Are you
LeBron,
catching up?
I think LeBron passed me.
Okay, but you were there for a while.
Yeah, but I tell those guys, I shot 3 a game. Y'all shoot 10 a game. Y'all just not catching me. So.
All right, we got a question from Trey Jensen.
What's up, Trey?
Trey, are we there?
Yeah, sorry.
Yeah, you there?
Hey, Trey.
So is there other sports you enjoy to play / watch?
So the question was, were there other sports you like to play that you played or you like to watch?
It's weird. Growing up, I was a huge baseball fan. I hated basketball. I was tall. I was clumsy. I couldn't, dribble. So growing up, I loved baseball. I'm still a big baseball fan. I'm a Mets fan, even though they're not as good as they used to be. My wife and the whole family, we go to Dodger games all the time. I love watching baseball. It's so funny. I would rather go to a game like most people than to watch it on TV. And so I love watching the ability of these guys to throw 100-mile-per-hour fastball, but on the other end, for guys to sit there and have the patience to hit curveballs and breaking balls, they're so good, and I love watching them play. And that's another thing that I wish that more young adults would do: play other sports, so they won't be on one sport all the time. So their bodies will develop in different areas, and they can just see what they enjoy, not just that one sport. Get out and play more sports.
All right. I thought I was a Laker fan, but this guy, hands down, he takes the cake. Coach Frank. Coach Frank, next question from Coach Frank.
I didn't even want to ask because that's how much of a fan. I'm so starstruck right now. Can't even begin to put into words. But anyway, you played so much basketball. You played against so many talented guys. Who's the one person you played against that you were just kind of you saw that on the schedule and you're like, I really don't want to go against this guy?
Grant Hill. And people don't know how good Grant Hill was. And for me, I said Grant Hill because at the time, he was him and Scottie Pippen were the point forwards that you had to worry about. Grant would come down, and you had to pick him up half court because he gets ahead of steam. He's going to the rack. He would kick it up, and he would run over here, come off with bless you. He would come off these screens. He would just come off pick and rolls, and he was just very active as a player. So it was very hard to guard Grant Hill. And he was my first, and my second was Charles Barkley because He was such a load on the block. When I was at the time when I had to guard him, I was only like 225. He's like 265, round mound and rebound, strong guy, could jump over you. So those two guys were my toughest guys. Not saying anybody else wasn't tough, because I could go and name people like Rasheed Wallace,
Right.
Duncan. You know, there are a lot of guys that were just in this NBA game that gave you head. But if you tired me out, that's why I didn't like him. That's what Grant Hill did. Because I had to chase him all over the court, and that will wear you down.
And then one last thing. How about trash talkers?
He is a trash talker.
No, I know. Glove and
I
a lot of other
don't talk that much trash, but I played with one of the best trash talkers ever, Vernon Maxwell. Man, I wish they could literally have mics when him and Michael Jordan used to go at each other. Oh man, it was. I remember one game he was talking trash to MJ, and then Scotty said something to him. He said, "Scotty, my young fellow will give you the numbers." And I said, yo, don't put me involved in that. Don't get my man all hyped up. No, let me just do what I need to do. And so Vernon was just, he would talk trash on the bus, coming off the bus, walking through the, the tunnels, fans, players, coaches. He was a big time trash talker.
I appreciate it, Rob.
All right. Question from Coach Dave.
Hey, Robert. Was wondering if you had watched at all the new show Shaq's Life.
TJ Shaq.
First of all, Dave, I'm glad you made it home safe. I saw you driving. But you know what? I haven't had a chance to. I recorded them. I haven't had a chance to watch them because my wife has me watching other shows. And so I hadn't had time to sneak in here and watch it yet. She like, when I get ready to watch, no, don't watch it yet. I want to watch it with you. So I had a chance to watch it. But I heard it's pretty good. I want to see the one where he did the mixed martial arts one. That's what I want to see. I think that one just passed, right?
Yeah, it's pretty funny.
Yeah, he's always into something. I think the funniest thing was his son telling him about his yacht. It's called Free Throw, and so he won't sink it. So,
yeah.
I've been a part of many of those he didn't sink, and some that he did.
All right, we got a question from Naira.
Naira!
All right, here we go.
Hi.
Hi, Naira.
Hold on. What was your highest scoring game and what contributed to that?
My highest scoring game was 40 points in Milwaukee against Todd Day. Todd Day was in the same draft class as I was. He played at Arkansas, which was a rival, because I went to Alabama. He was a rival, so he was, talking trash, and I just got on one of those games where I think I was 8 for 11 from 3, and I was just rolling, and my teammates. I think the good thing about this, it was in 94, probably before he was born. We was playing on the road, and another attribute that helped is Clyde Drexler. No, it had to be 95 because Clyde Drexler was hurt, so he didn't play. So we were all in the locker room talking about who was going to get Clyde's shots. So I got Clyde's shots that game, and so I was just hot that game. I had 40 points, 11 rebounds, and 8 assists, and I gave up shooting the ball trying to get a triple-double. And that's one of the things I never did playing NBA basketball. I never got a triple-double. And now that I look back on it, I should have been selfish. I could have had 50 that night because I was feeling that good. But so I should have kept shooting. But 40 points, Clyde didn't play. Todd Day was on a rival team and was a rival in college. And I just came out feeling good. On the road, too. That's what makes it more special.
All right, just a couple more. I don't want to take too much of your guys' time. Let's go with Josh.
Trevor has to cook dinner later on.
Oh, sure.
Yes.
We're going to go with Coach Josh.
Coach Josh.
I wanted to know what years were you having the most fun playing basketball and what made them so fun?
This is 100% the truth. College. Man, I love college. I had great teammates. You know, at the time, it wasn't a business. You didn't have to worry about if you played bad, getting traded, or getting cut. You just went out and you just had fun. You played hard in practice. You talked trash to your teammates, and you went to class, and you came back and you rested, and it was no pressure, I should say, because NBA basketball is a grind. It's a lot of pressure on you physically and mentally. But college, you're only playing maybe 30 games a year. You got your friends. You got a life, really. You got a life that you can enjoy. And once you get in the NBA, your life is your bubble shrinks because you have to, really monitor what you do because you got people pulling at you. You got, a lot of things that you can do that you didn't have access in college. So best time of my life was college by far. That's why I'm a big component of people going to college, not doing one and done, because you grow up in college. You get a lot of friends that you have for life, and use a line that Rick Fox always used to say to a lot of people. You learn how to talk to people. You have some communication skills because as a high school, you really don't know how to communicate with people on an adult level. So college by far.
Awesome. And you were drafted in the first round. What was it like when you got that phone call?
It was really, really, really good for me because I remember, when you're coming out of college and people didn't know exactly what I was. Is he a small forward? Is he a power forward? Is he a center? Because I played center in college, even though I was a small forward my first 2 years of college. So I didn't know if I was going to pick 8 to 28. I had no clue. All I knew is I wanted to get drafted by Houston. And crazy part is when you go to these teams and do workouts for them, you try to go in and you do your best. So I went into Indiana, who had the 13th pick, and I made like 35 threes in a row, right, for them. They were like, oh, we drafting this kid, right? And I go to Houston. I'm sick. I can't even throw the ball. I'm trying to fight. I have the worst workout out of all my workouts in Houston. This is the team I wanted to go to. I literally went back to my hotel room and shed a tear. And so when Houston has their pick, I mean, we were in Portland because this was during the Dream Team. So everybody was in Portland for the Dream Team because of Nike and all this stuff. So I literally just came back from the bathroom and I was talking to Doug Christie, and it says the Houston Rockets select, because the cameramen have a piece in the ear, so they already know who's going to get picked. And at this time, you have one guy that's in front of Tracy Murray because everybody thought Houston was going to draft either Tracy Murray or Harold Miner. So everybody's in front of these two guys, a UCLA guy and a USC guy. And so they got the cameras. All of a sudden, everybody they get this weird look like, what? We in the wrong place? And everybody starts running over to where Doug Christie and I are standing. So I was like, Doug, Houston about to draft you. And I was like, Houston Rockets select Robert Horry. I'm like, even though he said my name wrong, I am excited because that's where I wanted to go. And that made me want to work even harder because I thought I would fit in with Hakeem Olajuwon the best because I knew what I was. I'm a small forward. They need a small forward, and I could fit in perfectly with them. So getting drafted in 92 by the Houston Rockets with the 11th pick of the draft was beyond a dream come true for me.
All right. Thank you guys so much. I got to say, your guys' chemistry is awesome together. Yeah. So you guys are more than welcome to come to the dojo once it's safe. All right. Once it's safe, open up, come in, pepper, play a little volleyball.
It's peppering so much. I'm going to get you to pepper with me. You might be a little long. Do you know what that is?
No.
Bump set spike.
I thought it was when you dig the ball.
Yeah, dig, and then I set, and then you spike it.
Oh. Okay.
We'll teach you.
I'm too old for that. I can't jump anymore.
Thank you for having us. We enjoyed it.
Thanks, everybody. Stay safe, and it was fun for me to do this. Thanks for having me.
Thank you.
Thanks, guys.